Consistency over motivation. Like, obviously, right? We hear this all of the time. And yes, that's exactly what I'm going to talk about today. But I'm going to talk about it from a very personal angle and hopefully bring a new layer to this that kind of makes it more real. So I try to use analogies or metaphors to help me connect some of these ideas that just people talk about all the time to make them feel more real. So I just moved into a new house and the previous owners have these beautiful plants, this beautiful herb shelf. I can't just wait until I feel inspired to water the plants or they're gonna die. If I don't go out and water them every single day, I live in Charleston, South Carolina. The heat is going to kill them. Another one is you can go hard in the gym for 2 weeks in January or right before summer, but consistency is eating protein every day, whether you want to or not. If you choose the first, you're gonna have a good week, right? And if you choose the latter, you're going to get the fitness goals that you wanted in the first place. Another one, more of a business point, is your team doesn't get paid when you feel inspired to run payroll. Payroll runs on the 1st and the 15th or whatever your schedule is, no matter what. So when I think about these, I've been thinking, so why was I treating sales for my company like a hobby and not like payroll or not like my fitness goals or not like watering my plants? And that was a really, really expensive mistake to learn. And as an ambitious female who wants to build a large company or build a big career, you're probably watching this video and I want to save you from making the expensive mistakes that I did. The question cost me 2 revenue valleys before I finally woke up, and I'm going to tell you more about those today. Something to think about is motivation and consistency are not the same thing, and I'm sure that if you're watching this, you know that. Motivation is the equivalent of flooring the gas pedal, but that's not sustainable, right? Consistency is the equivalent of putting it on cruise control and then you can take your foot off of the gas pedal and the car will still keep moving forward at the same speed. So scenario 1, solopreneur, nobody else on my team, just myself. Really, at that point, I would have been viewed in the market as a freelancer. So what did relying on motivation look like for me in that period? First, it was outreach that was really hot and good when I felt like it. It was mostly done on Upwork, and I would just, blast a bunch of proposals when I was like, yeah, I think, this contract's gonna end soon and I'm gonna need to load up my next one. I didn't hire unless I direly needed it. So it was a very reactive process of just like, oh shit, like I can't do that by myself. I don't know how to do that. And I just sold that, which is something I would never do today, but is very common when you're a freelancer coming up, is like there's a little piece of your project that you need to outsource, as long as your contract allows you to do so. But I just scrambled and I was overwhelmed instead of planning ahead. So while I was doing $10,000 a month, it was so difficult and so hard and sales were so sporadic that basically I just did this all the time. Like I was doing really good on revenue, I was not doing good on revenue. Good on revenue, not good on revenue. And that's what it looked like for about a year, I would say, until all of a sudden I had no contracts and I was like, what do I do now? I didn't see this coming. So I started working with a coach and I systematized and I got clients back and I had really consistent work and I started building a team proactively and systems proactively, and I actually repositioned the business and things were going really, really well. I thought I learned my lesson, but then it happened again. I lost a client because they closed their business, and then another client reduced their contract. And I realized that for an entire quarter, I had done the bare minimum for sales. And there is like I think this is a philosophy, but I've never not seen it be true, that sales show up 6 to 8 weeks after the effort. So if I was doing like a big networking push, a big referral outreach push, a big cold outreach push, I'm not going to feel that for 6 to 8 weeks. Now, if you have enough runway to sustain yourself, which fortunately we did, it's not the end of the world, but when you then have a mass exodus of clients, which can happen in economic downturns with industry disruptors, these things happen, right? It is a natural part of the market. You don't want to be in a place where your pipeline is empty, because building pipeline, especially when you're in B2B, that takes a long time. The average sales cycle is anywhere from 30 to 120 days, depending on the cost of your product. If you have a lower cost product, it's going to be faster probably. However, you need higher volume, right, to be able to sustain your business. Versus if you have a higher ticket product, yeah, you don't need as much volume to sustain, but you need a lot more runway to be able to get to the end of that sales cycle. And you need a guaranteed close almost if you don't have a pipeline. That's a lot of stress. So the realization coming out of the second one is that I don't have a sales system. As an operations-minded person, the one thing that I hate is sales because I never felt like I knew how to do it. And I realized I just had never systematized my approach. So it was never a bad month. It was just looking back 2 months and being like, oh, I was just sporadically doing sales based on vibes. So I wrote down some notes about what I changed and how I created a sales system. And it is really crazy because I implemented it 4 months ago now, and within the 6 weeks, like the 6 week mark, is when I really started to see something. And now I have multiple sales calls a week, multiple proposals going out. We've signed 2 clients since in the last 7 days. Like, and that's not to flex, that's just to show you how, when you really sit back and try to learn your lesson, and God, I hope I learned it this time, it does some crazy things. So anyway, updated sales system. So I gamified my sales, and basically I went through and I talked to my coach, and I went back and forth with Claude a little bit, and I was like, what are the high leverage activities that I can do for my buyers? And Claude kept being like, post on LinkedIn. And so I started talking to some lead gen people, and all of them were like, yeah, we're shutting down our LinkedIn from our strategies with clients because of artificial intelligence and how grossly overpopulated LinkedIn is now. It's really now like a low trust platform, which I agree with. When I'm as a consumer on LinkedIn, I feel the same way. So anywho, I gamified my sales. So that's looking at like, I'm trying to do these market research calls, I'm booking things, I'm doing outreach, I'm developing an ABM strategy, I'm developing a referral marketing strategy. I've chosen 3 networking events that now I continuously show up at. So I joined an advisory board group of other successful entrepreneurs. I go to an operations meetup, and I go to a Claude Code meetup. So I try to hit all areas of the business and kind of hit, and those are like the 3 that I'm going to just continue to show up at every single month. I think they're all once a month. Some of them are multiple times a month, but anywho. I also leveraged AI to create SDRs. And so basically I have different Claude agents, and they help me do market research, pull opportunities for me to cold outreach to, and kind of run some of the sales administration work for me and help make sure I stay on quota. The other piece of this, so that's the sales. The other piece of this, of the team and the hiring system, which I actually worked on last year, kind of not as a result of this, but I think it's really important. So I have proactive trigger points for when I need to hire. I have onboarding SOPs and a process for updating those. I have a hiring pipeline that stays warm, so I try to manage a lot of different relationships with people that could potentially be brought up on the bench. And like, I'm constantly trying to create opportunities for these people because I myself do not want to be doing the delivery work because 90% of my time should be spent in sales. But I'm trying to create opportunities so I can pay these people what they're worth and let them live their best fractional life and also deliver incredible outcomes for my clients. Like, I want to work with top caliber talent, but that comes at a price. I did, for the team and hiring, I did work very closely with my business coach for that one because he really has a good skill set and a really external view for that. So that was really him. And we spent about 6 weeks developing that together. These 2 valleys, they really taught me the same lesson twice. And I hope I'm done learning that specific lesson now. But the reason was I was trying to solve the symptom, which was like the lost revenue, instead of solving the root problem, which was that I didn't actually have a sales motion in my business. I had no consistent input for sales to create opportunities, to create revenue, to create consistency and stability for the business. Consistency is often construed as discipline, but I think consistency comes from the architecture or the systems that you create, and then you need discipline, of course, to work within those. You have to build inputs for your business that don't function based on how you feel for that day. That's really important. And I think that's the architecture piece. And yes, discipline is showing up even when you don't feel like it. But the system, the architecture is built so it doesn't matter what you feel like that day or if you have low energy output that day, just like payroll. If any of you have motivation traps that you've been through, you found this helpful, I would love for you to comment below. Let us know. Let's have a conversation about it. If this video was helpful for you, please give it a thumbs up. That really helps me. Hit the subscribe button because I will be back here next Saturday for another video. And I think if it's behind the scenes, I believe the 128 life is next. So we have our 3 pillars, which is RevOps, which is where we talk about building a business, behind the scenes of building a company like this, which is today's. And then let's see. Yeah. So next week is the 128, which is the 128 hours outside of the work week, which is our entire working philosophy. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you next time.